welcome back to the channel, and today the Khorne Daemonkin have returned. They have been pillaging and tormenting this Imperial city, and the Blood Angels have been sent in to purge them from the city and inflict some pain back on the wrath of Khorne. The Blood Angels have assembled a fast moving strike force ready to strike the city and take it back. Today's mission is cleanse and control. We've got the 6 objectives: 1, 2, 3, number 4, number 5 and number 6 being left behind by the residents of this city. So we're running 2 combined arms detachments today. We've got a unit of 8 flesh hounds over here. We've got a unit of bloodletters with a sergeant in there, a spawn, and we've got a rhino there with 10 marines in, the sergeant being upgraded with power weapon, and we've got 2 melter guns. Moving across to the centre, we've got the warlord, the juggerlord himself. He's got a sigil of corruption, plasma pistol, and of course the juggernaut. He's got a combat familiar, his warlord trait is preferred enemy. He is riding with 3 blood crushers, the blood reaver there at the back. We've also got the bloodthirster of infinite rage. We've got a skull cannon, soul grinder with a warp sword and phlegm bombardment. We've got Mauler Fiend. We've got another unit of bloodletters again with the character upgrade. We've got the demon prince with the blood forged armor and wings. 2 single units of spawn and a unit of 7 dogs. We do have 8 Khorne berserkers hiding in that ruin, and the champion has a power weapon. So that is it for the Daemonkin. They are going first as it stands, but today George is using the Blood Angels. Let's take a look at his force. Right, so George is running a Baal strike force and an allied detachment. We've got a Baal predator there, heavy bolters and assault cannon. We've got a 10-man tactical squad in a rhino. The rhino, of course, with a storm bolter. We've got the tactical squad with a flamer, heavy flamer, hand flamer on the sergeant, melter bombs and a power weapon. So George is really going for close combat goodness. In this rhino, we've got another 10-man tactical squad with a heavy bolter, hand flamer, melter gun and power weapon again. In the centre, we've got Land Raider Redeemer. We've got on there the multi-melter upgrade, and in there is 5 Hammonators. Down here, we've got a unit of 10, yes, 10 Death Company with a chaplain, and the captain in the middle there with a relic blade, artificer armour, and loads of goodiness, digital weapons, you name it, he's got it. There's a Thunderhammer in there from the Death Company as well. George's reserves, he's got another unit of Death Company, 6 with bolters, 1 with plasma pistol, 1 with power weapon. And the librarian has attached himself to there. The librarian does have a jump pack, but based on the powers George got, he's elected to put him in the drop pod. He's got Electro Surge, Electro Shield and Lightning Arc from the new Fulmination discipline. We've got a unit of 5 assault marines here with 2 melter guns and a power weapon on the sergeant, and they're in a pod, as is the Death Company. And we've got a Death Company dreadnought with a heavy flamer and melter gun, again in a pod. So let's have a look back at the table. The only scout moves that the Khorne Daemonkin have done is push these dogs up this way. We are aware of the flamers over that way, though. There's going to be a lot of hits coming in on Overwatch, I think, when we charge. As for this side, though, we've elected not to scout forward because the Death Company are right there and they've got a 12-inch move. And George is letting me go first. Right, so Daemonkin turn 1, we drew Blood and Guts, Secure Objective 1 and Psychological Warfare. The moving phase, the dogs are pushed forward slightly, but the 2 spawns are taking point to hopefully bait in those Death Company, and maybe we can get a counter charge off with the Bloodletters or the Demon Prince. The Soul Grinders pull back ever so slightly, as I don't want to shoot into the centre and then get charged by Terminators. The Skull Cannon pushing forward slightly, he's just within range of those scouts. But down here, the spawn is going forward, the Blood Crushers and the Mauler Fiend ready to meet the Terminators and hopefully take them down. I'm very wary of the melter guns coming in from reserve, but hopefully we should be okay. I've left the rhino here for the moment. We'll have to see whether or not George is going to try and pop that. But over this side, the Bloodletters are pushed forward. The dogs, though, aren't going any closer just yet. So I've only got the one shooting attack, I think, to do, and maybe it's a run move with that spawn. So that is it. The spawn has ran 3 inches forward, and the skull cannon managed to kill a single marine there. Not enough to force a morale check, but George's warlord trait is stealth ruins, move through cover. So these guys have got a 2-up save. Right, so I don't score blood and guts, I do score objective 1, and I don't score psychological warfare. I'm going to discard psychological warfare. It's Blood Angels turn 1. George has drew Harness the Warp, secure objective 5, and no prisoners. The scouts are on 5, so that should be easy to get. So over this flank, George has moved the Baal Predator around, and one of the rhinos has moved forward 12 inches and popped smoke. George was trying to get within range of the flame templates, but I think I held the dogs back just far enough. In the centre here, this rhino is also pushed forward 12 inches, and again probably looking to bait these guys in, but they have also popped smoke as well. In the middle, the Land Raiders pushed forward just far enough that it can still fire 1 weapon of full ballistic skill and power the machine spirit. And the Death Company and the Hammonators are probably coming in to do some damage to the Mauler Fiend or the spawn here. Meanwhile, on this flank, one of the drop pods has landed with the Death Company Dreadnought in to drop some flame of goodness on the Bloodletters. And back here in the backfield, George tried to drop the Death Company and the Librarian. They're scattered wildly, so he's pulled them back to try and divert the attention this way. Luckily, I left the blood there, the Khorne Berserkers there. So let's see what he does in the psychic and shooting phase. I'm expecting some damage. So in the psychic phase, George tried to cast Electro Shield but didn't get it off. Managed to get Electro Surge, but I managed to stop it. In the shooting phase, however, these guys unloaded into the Berserkers and killed 3 of them. The champion's still there though. In the centre here, the Death Company Dreadnought managed to torch a number of the Bloodletters, and the drop pods giving support fire from their Stormbolters as well. But the brutalest thing, the Mauler Fiend was blown up by a single shot from that multi-melter on the Land Raider, scoring George first blood and putting a wound on the Blood Reaver here. The Bloodletters here took fire from the guys inside of the Rhino and even managed to bring 2 of them down despite snapshots, and we lost a single dog this side with fire coming across from the Baal Predator there as well. So very, very productive round of shooting there for George, but he's got some charges to make. I think these guys are pretty much gonna eat these for breakfast, but we shall see what happens. What an absolute nightmare the Khorne Daemonkin are having. Death Company charged in, absolutely tore the spawn apart. Meanwhile, the Hammonators charged in, and despite the Blood Crushers getting a lot of wounds in, and even Gore Drinker managing to get a few wounds on the Sergeant, George passed every single save. He inflicted 5 wounds back, and I passed 2 invuns, insta-killing the 3 Blood Crushers. So the Juggerlord is tied up here, unfortunately. However, I've got a counter charge. Yep, so I'm on 3 blood tide points now due to losing the spawn, the Blood Crushers and the Mauler Fiend, and George has first blood. But let's have a look at these points. George scores objective 5 with the scouts and no prisoners. He managed to kill 3 units, scoring him D3 victory points, and he's electing to discard Harness the Warp. Are you? Or keeping it?
I'll keep it, sorry.
Keeping it, and D3 victory points for 3 plus first blood plus secure 5 puts George straight away at 5 points. Khorne turn 2, we've got Blood and Guts, got Hungry for Glory, issue a challenge, we've got secure objective 3. So these guys have turned round and are coming for the Librarian and the Death Company down here. With the champion, of course, is going to charge in and issue a challenge. Will get me 1, and hopefully we can either kill him or the Death Company between the sheer weight of attacks to get us something for Blood and Guts. Mauler Fiend down, the Soul Grind is going to have to step up and see if we can take down that Death Company Dreadnought. I thought about tap hitting him with the Bloodletters, but I need to try and take him out. I was contemplating the Flame Bombardment going that way, but I really, really need to get rid of that Dreadnought fast. That strength 10 is going to double out the spawn and everything as well. So the spawn and the Demon Prince have jumped across this way. The Demon Prince is a character, so he's going to be charging in here to issue a challenge as well. And this guy, the Bloodthirster, has jumped into action, and he's going to help the Juggerlord take out these Terminators, hopefully. Meanwhile, the Chaos Marines have leapt into action, jumped out the Rhino, and are going to lay down some supporting fire, maybe take down 1 or 2 of the Death Company, and then the Bloodletters might go in to support the Demon Prince and the Spawn as well. Meanwhile, on this flank, the Dogs have pushed forward, hopefully take out the back of the Rhino and score me objective 3 as well. So in the shooting phase, we didn't do too bad at all. We had fire from these guys coming in, and the Skull Cannon. The Skull Cannon did scatter off, and George made a lot of his saves. However, we managed to kill 3 of the Death Company here, which is important because 10 of them is very, very nasty indeed. The melter guns taking 1 of them out. George passing a 6-up cover for the foliage in the way there. Like I said, the Skull Cannon even took a shot through at them, but the Soul Grinder went for the Dreadnought, and unfortunately the Flame Bombardment scattered way, way back. So no damage done there. However, the Harvester Cannon did get a pen through, but we stunned him. Death Company Dreadnought unfortunately does ignore it, so we're going to have to charge him, unfortunately. Meanwhile, down here, the Bow Pistols came hurtling in, only did a single wound, which George managed to save. So that was it for shooting. Combat's going to be fantastic. Quick update before we work out all of the combats. What a turn indeed for Khorne. Every single charge we have nominated has been successful. So the Dogs and the Berserkers in here, the Champion issue and a challenge to the Librarian. These guys, the Soul Grinder making it across to the Dreadnought. We're in the middle of working this mess out. Both Spawn, the Bloodletters getting that re-rollable charge thanks to the Skull Cannon. The Demon Prince making it in. The Bloodthirster making it in here. And the Dogs have already destroyed this Rhino over here. So there's still lots going on, but we've already got loads. The Demon Prince has already slaughtered the Chaplain. One thing that's just come up is the Demon Prince has slaughtered the Chaplain at initiative 8. Does Zealot still count for the rest of the combat because it is the first round? We're going to play it that way, but if you can let us know if it's any different, please leave it in the comments. So after that, there was a massive, massive shit fest. The Librarian killed the aspiring champion in a challenge. We brought down 4 Death Company altogether. So yeah, that wasn't too good at all. In the middle, the Soul Grinder hurtled in, did a wound, a hull point rather, with Hammer of Wrath. George managed to get 1 penetrating hit through the Demon save and then rolled a 6, exploding the Soul Grinder before he even got to swing. In the centre here, the D-Thirster, proving what he was made of, and managed to make a heroic intervention, slay the Sergeant, and then between these two managed to bring down another 3 of the Marines. In the centre, we managed to kill the Chaplain in a challenge with the Demon Prince. The Spawn managed to take 2 wounds but do a little bit of damage back, and we also managed to bring down a couple more Death Company. We did lose a few Bloodletters thanks to the Captain doing a lot of damage there. So as it stands, that puts me at 6 Blood Tide points in that turn. So let's have a look at what cards I scored. At the end of Khorne turn 2, Blood and Guts, we only scored 1 victory point. We only managed to bring down the Rhino and the Chaplain. Unfortunately, we didn't quite bring down the Terminators or that Dreadnought, so I'll score 1 point for that. Hungry for Glory, who challenged, we managed to get 3 challenges in there, so D3 for 2 more points, and I score objective 3. So that scores me 4 points that turn, plus objective 1 puts the score at 5-5. Right, so George still has Harness the Warp. He's due Decapitating Strike and Kingslayer, so I'm guessing he's going for me Lord. Right, so in the movement phase, the Death Company Dreadnought is charging forward and he's looking to take out the Skull Cannon. I think George wants rid of that nice, nasty, horrible large blast template. Meanwhile, across in the centre, George has moved the Land Raider up, ready to flamestorm these Marines, and the rest of the Marines have leapt into action out of the Rhino and looking to take these guys on. On this flank, however, I'm expecting a lot of firepower coming in. I don't think the Dogs will survive. So we'll have to see. I can't really do much with my Blood Tide points that I've got, and getting any more at this stage isn't going to help me because my Bloodthirster and my Demon Prince is already on the board. But let's see what George does in the Psychic and the Assault phase. Right, so incredibly quick turn for Psychic and shooting there. George managed to get force off on the Librarian, but not Electro's shield. The Melter Gun here missed the side of the Chariot. In the centre, fire from the Tactical Marines and the Land Raider managed to bring down a couple of the Chaos Marines there, 3 of them being cut down altogether. And at this side, fire from the Baal Predator and the Tactical Marines, everything hurtling in, did 3 wounds to 3 different dogs there and killed 1 outright. So lots of damage done. The units are slowly being whittled down, but it's going to be a bloody turn of combat again, I think. So in combat down here, we managed to cut down 3 more of the Death Company, and not a single wound was taken back by Khorne. Unfortunately, we lost the Skull Cannon down here thanks to the Dreadnought. However, the D-Thirster and the Juggerlord managed to pull apart that last Terminator. In the centre, the Bloodletters managed to cut down a couple of more of the Death Company, whilst they worked on pulling down the Spawn and doing damage to that one. The Captain stepping up and accepting the challenge of the Demon Prince, and no wounds exchanged either way for him. So as the Marines and the Demons of Khorne battle it out, George has won Harness the Warp, which puts him at 6 points to Khorne's 5. But going into this turn, Khorne has 8 Blood Tide points. What can we do? Khorne turn 3, we've drew Witch Hunter, secure 5. That's going to be hard to get across to there unless I can get out of combat. And secure objective 6. I've used 6 Blood Tide points to summon a unit of Blood Crushers. So hopefully in combats down here we should be able to get Witch Hunter if we can kill that Librarian. The D-Thirster has jumped across looking to take out the Death Company Dreadnought, and these guys have moved 6 and then ran 4, getting them onto objective 6. Objective 5 is over there, and like I said, unless I can get out to it, I don't think I'd have been able to get it. And I really need to kill George's Warlord and start pushing ahead on points. I probably could have moved my Juggerlord over there, but then he's entirely exposed by himself. I've moved the Marines forward, hopefully get through that Land Raider. If not, they're going to get absolutely torched next turn. I've used my Rhino to try and block a charge lane from these guys, and George has had to run 1 unit back and 1 out of the way. The Blood Crushers, I did try to land them here next to the champion, but unfortunately they scattered this way, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just can't charge. Meanwhile, the dogs, I don't know what to do. Do I charge the Baal Predator because that's a lot of firepower? Do I charge the units of Marines to try and tie them up? I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get there. Combat down here rages on. Unfortunately, despite us getting quite a lot of wounds, George passed a lot of his saves and the Librarian is alive on 1 wound. I think I'm going to have to ditch Witch Hunter because I'm not going to get it. I'm going to end up killing him in his turn. In the centre though, the D-Thirster managed to absolutely take down the Death Company Dreadnought, but he took a wound in the process. And in the middle here, the Demon Prince and the Juggerlord managed to cut down the rest of the Death Company and bring the Captain down to only a single wound. Not too shabby, but across here we decided to multi-charge the Baal Predator and the Marines and only put 2 hull points on the Baal Predator. Unfortunately, we did take a wound to Overwatch, but no wounds exchanged in the combat down here. So I'm currently on 3 Blood Tide points for killing 2 units of Death Company and the Death Company Dreadnought. I don't score Witch Hunter. I do score objective 6. I don't score 5. I reckon I can get 5 in my next turn, so I'm going to discard Witch Hunter. Puts the score at, I believe, 7 to me, 6 to George. Right, so Blood Angels turn 3. George has Blood and Guts, Kingslayer and Decapitating Strike, so guess what he is doing. Into the moving phase, these Marines are pulled sideways, looking to probably charge into the dogs. I need to get rid of the Marines so to go after that Baal Predator. It's on 1 hull point. If the dogs survive, I might charge the Blood Crushers at the Baal Predator next turn and then consolidate and come back over towards these guys. We're in the centre. George is tank shocking me back out the way to make space for the Marines to come through and hopefully cut down the Juggerlord with sheer weight of dice. The drop pod with the assault squad has finally arrived and is facing down the Bloodthirster. That's it for movement. We've got a very quick shooting phase to come and then onto assault. It's been absolutely bloody and brutal in the centre of this building. Absolute destruction, and it's still ongoing. So in the psychic phase, George managed to get Force off to kill some Dags. And the storm bolt from the drop pod fired at the bloodletters but didn't do anything. Meanwhile, almost everything else fired at the D-Thirster, the drop pod, the assault marines, and the land raider there as well. Even shot in. Did you fire the scouts or did you forget them again?
Yeah.
Right, so I guess they're going into the Thirster.
Yeah, Sergeant, hits.
3 normal guys, 2 hits.
No.
Nothing, wow. So yeah, that's that. And even the storm bolt from the Rhino went in at him. And only a single bolt pistol shot from the assault marines went through. We even lost a blood crusher down here to mass firepower coming in from the Baal Predator. But I'm guessing George is going to be charging those marines in there. And those marines in across here. Hopefully the Juggerlord can stay alive. He is only on a single wound, so thinking he's probably going to go down. Right, so we finally managed to cut down the librarian in combat down here and consolidate out. Good job, I discarded Witch Hunter. Meanwhile, in the centre, the sergeant charged in, made a heroic intervention with the Demon Prince, and sacrificed himself so that the captain could attempt to bring down the Juggerlord. However, he was not successful. It was the sheer weight of dice from the Marines that managed to do it. Combat's down here. We lost 2 of our number due to the Marines going at initiative 5 thanks to the Baal Strike Force. And these guys, unfortunately, are having a bit of a hard time. We need to take out the Baal Predator and these Marines at this side. The Marines have proven difficult to shift, but we've still got a few things in the centre that we need to try and take out. George was on 6 points. He's getting blood and guts for killing something in the assault phase, so it's only 1 extra victory point, puts him at 7. He also killed me Warlord, puts him at 8. Kingslayer gives him D3, and Decapitating Strike gives him 9. So that's 9 plus D3, George. For another 2 points, puts him at 11. So Khorne turn 4, we were back up to 6 blood tie points. So I've summoned the Skull Cannon, and you'll see why in a minute. I've drew objective 6 and objective 5 twice. So the bloodletters on objective 6 are going to stay there and score me that. Across here though, the dogs are moving forward. Hopefully we can get in at these assault marines. The Demon Prince, unfortunately, is going to be left stranded for a little while fire from the Marines will hopefully knock that single scout off there. We managed to get direct hit summoning the Skull Cannon here onto objective 5, but they have objective secured. All I need to do is kill a single scout to get it. So hopefully we can get that. Depending on how they do, I'll either then fire the Marines up at the scouts and then charge the D-Thirster at the Land Raider. But if the Skull Cannon can take the scouts, I'll use the Melter Guns and the Melter Bomb to try and take out the Land Raider, and the D-Thirster go in after the Marines. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave the dogs for them, let them fend for themselves over this side while the Blood Crushers deal with the Baal Predator. So with George leaving 11 to my 7, I needed to pull something out of the bag in this turn, and it hasn't gone according to plan. We shot the Skull Cannon scouts then, despite getting 4 wounds. George passed all 4 forts. Brutal stuff. Then the bolters from the Marines managed to fire in, but unfortunately didn't do any damage, so it was down to the Bloodthirster to charge in and tear apart the Land Raider. The Land Raider itself exploded, doing damage to both the Marine squads, and then in combat here the Demon Prince managed to slay the captain, getting me another blood-tied point. The Marines there, however, did put a wound back on the Demon Prince. The dogs hurtled in through the ruins, and we lost 1 of our number and cut 2 of the Marines down, so that was a tied combat. However, across this side things are starting to look bleak for us. We've got 1 dog on 1 wound tied up there with 10 tactical Marines. At least that's going to tie them up in George's turn, but the Blood Crushers managed to tear apart that damaged Baal Predator. That's going to stop George getting line breaker hopefully, but we'll have to see what happens with these. So not too good of a turn. The bloodletters over here do score me objective 6, but I am going to keep objective 5 because all I have to do is move them scouts. Right, so Blood Angels turn 4. George has drew Supremacy, Secure 3 and Secure 4. 4 is way back here in his deployment zone. Unfortunately, it looks as though everybody is just a bit far away from him. Objective 3, he should be able to get once he kills that dog in combat and consolidate back that way. Supremacy is going to be difficult though, as I have an objective secured Rhino on this one, and he's not quite within range of this one and he can't get to objective 1 over there, so it's going to be difficult. I think he's going to try and take out the chariot here. So yeah, the scouts have dropped down and looking to take out the skull cannon. Hopefully we can take that out though, being a chariot and get a few extra attacks. What he has done though is move his rhino flat out over into the distance there, probably to try and draw my melter marines back that way. So the assault phase, the dogs and the marines here exchange blows, inflicting a single wound each. The Demon Prince whiffed all of his attacks nearly and only killed a single marine. The marine's not doing any damage in return. Meanwhile, George charged in the scout squad, and the bloodletters on the top of the chariot cut 2 of them down, and they did a single hull point back. So he is going to be controlling objective 5 for the moment, but it doesn't give him supremacy, unfortunately, because in combats down here, although he scores objective 3, he didn't control any other objectives. Khorne turn 5, we've got secure objective 5 twice and secure objective 2. Number 5 I'm going to have to divert the Bloodthirster to, and number 2 my Rhino is already on it. I did have 5 blood type points, but I've elected to use the one for 4 points to get me an extra attack to make sure I try and get rid of as many units as possible. Right, so thinking about the end of the game, I'm currently on 7 points to George's 12, and I can only score a maximum of 4 by the end of this turn. If the game ends, I would get line breaker from them. I need to kill the scouts here to get me objective 5 twice. These guys will score me objective marker 2, and yeah, things are going to be difficult. I need to take these guys out to prevent him consolidating back to get line breaker, and I need to stop George's line breaker. Even if that pulls off, I'm still going to be a point behind, so we need turn 6. So things went according to plan. Khorne is pleased with the blood that has been spilt this day. These marines, 2 melter guns, both hit, both penned, blew the rhino up, denying George line breaker for the moment. The dogs with a +1 attack just brought down those 2 marines. The Demon Prince slaughtered the 2 remaining tactical marines from that squad. The Bloodthirster hurtled in, smashed apart the scouts. George denying me the challenge, so I didn't get the blood type point for killing somebody in a challenge, but I did get one for the unit. Down this way, the Blood Reaver managed to cut down the entire squad himself. 4 attacks, +1 for charge, +1 for the blood type points. Challenged the sergeant and cut the entire squad down. The squad bringing the other guy down at the same time. So things moving very, very nicely for the Khorne Daemonkin, but we are a single point behind George. We do need the game to go on to turn 6. George has got Big Game Hunter, Secure 4 and Overwhelming Firepower on Blood Angel turn 5, and he's got a little bit of a plan. He could have risked running the Marines towards objective 4, but no. He's going to lob a crack grenade, a heavy flamer and 2 bow pistol shots and then charge. Yay, let's see if he can bring this down for Overwhelming Firepower possibly, or in the assault phase Big Game Hunter. The reason he said he's going to do this is because he'll get 1 point here and then die, or he could potentially get 2 points here if he charges and die. So yeah. Oh, I'm really starting to sweat now. George has just knocked 2 wounds off this guy. 1 with a crack grenade from the Marines and a straight firing bolter shot from the Storm Bolter on the pod. So yeah, I'm really starting to sweat. Yeah. So he's going to be charging in. Do you make the charge though, George?
Yes.
Yeah, he makes it in. So we'll work that out. And hopefully this guy that hasn't been whiffing his attacks all game will finally kill 3 Marines. Just to prove how horrible this Demon Prince is, he's got 6 attacks, he's got 5 base +1 for me blood type point. Oh wow, he actually hits everything for once. Wow.
So
see, so that's your Marines dead, unfortunately, George.
Oh.
However, do you want to? Are you doing crack grenades or normal attacks?
Normal attacks.
So 8 attacks, hitting on 5s. Yes. Oh, he's got 3. He's got 3.
Oh.
No wounds. 6, 7, I have 7 attacks. This guy's been rolling a lot of 6s as well. So...
Uh-oh. No!
Yeah. So unfortunately, George doesn't score Big Game Hunter, Secure Objective 4 or Overwhelm with Firepower. On this bloody day, Khorne is pleased. The demons and marines and followers of Khorne have wreaked absolute havoc as the Blood Angels came down to try and stop them. All that's left is a couple of drop pods. However, the Blood Angels purged enough of the city that they are actually leading 12 points to 11, and that includes my line breaker. So this is basically, does George win, yes or no? 1 or 2 he wins.
Yes!
No!
Eat it!
With that, Sanguinius' sons are proud. They sacrificed themselves to purge as much of the city as they possibly can, and there's still a bloodthirster, demon prince, there's dogs, everything is running around the city. George, any thoughts on the game?
Eat it! Victory! Khorne, eat it, go on. Cause. Okay.
I really enjoyed actually really getting up in the face of the Blood Angels there and getting the Blood Tide points. I think I got up to 8 like 4 or 5 times at least. Yeah, challenging all the sergeants, the amount of close combat that was going on from turn 2. I mean, come on, how bloody was turn 2 when we were all in the centre there? It was an absolute mess. There was so little shooting and everything.
We had about 4 rounds of shooting and that was it.
Yeah, like literally a couple of units each in each of the shooting phases. So, today's game was filmed at Games of War. Thank you very much for George for playing the Blood Angels against the Daemonkin. I've really enjoyed playing them, and it's been an absolute pleasure being down. Please check out Games of War on Facebook and check out the rest of the channel for more battle reports and banter. Thanks for watching, guys.